finally, the last thing I want to show you is just something that you get, but I'm proud of how far it's come. This is our internal newsletter and something I'll be working with. It's been around a long time. I've watched it go from being typed on a piece of paper and run through a copier to go into a black and white magazine style format to this color. And recently we started emailing it to everyone. So you don't have to go look for it. It's going to come to you. And it's all about our agency. It's about the commissions in here a lot, the agencies in here a lot. And one of the things that we've added to it, and because it's important for our directors to constantly communicate with their folks, we've also added at the very end of it a column called From the Corner, and or the corner office, I'm sorry. And that's written by Director Carter. So he's writing every month to the folks that are out there, and we think that's important, that he constantly communicates. And also that little studio you saw, we're going to be getting him and others in there from time to time so that we can do an interview with them or talk to them and send it out over our local internet so that folks can see what's going on, just a way to update them. That's just some of what we're doing. One of the main reasons for the job, too, is just so that I can work directly with the director staff. If the press is calling and they're bugging the director staff, somebody needs to handle that besides them, and that needs to be our communications staff, and that's what I'm going to be doing with the director, and I hope with the commission if y'all want me to help you. I'll be glad to help y'all in any way I can. I want y'all to participate in our shows and help us make them grow. Anyway, anybody, Jason, you want anything to add? You good? All right, commissioners, that's my presentation.
Thank you, Doug. Any quick, Commissioner Woodson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question about the data tracking, and I've come completely full circle on social media. My husband still calls it book face, and so I want to be clear that we've come full circle, but we think about it a lot in the work that I do and how you engage diverse user groups and a conversation that may not immediately appeal. And so we've seen the data, we believe in it. It's, if you're trying to motivate behavior, build engagement, it's absolutely the right thing. So I really applaud the work that you all are doing. A few questions in that, and they'll be brief, and if you don't have the answer today, you can follow up with it.
Yes,
it's no big deal.
Okay.
Are you doing baseline tracking on data for friends, followers, utilization of the radio shows, the videos, so you can track that over time to understand not only the immediate hits, but deeper engagement? Because we've at least learned a lot that the number of friends is an interesting thing to track, but it's actual engagement and what does it look like to move those numbers over time, and it tells a story. So are you all tracking that now?
It's early on this. I mean, it's a week old, so
Right.
We're going to be tracking it and seeing what it does for us. Facebook has analytics also that I'm just now starting to learn, and yes, I'm looking at them.
Yep.
I'm looking to see what you call engagement, to see if they're actually engaged or talking with us and staying with the story versus are they just saying like and moving on. We're starting to. I haven't got far with it yet, but I've found all the analytics in all of it. It's
Gotcha.
all available to us. It's available through Facebook, and this is a Google Analytics, and we're going to be looking at that kind of stuff.
Got it. If there are peers that know a lot in that world that you'd like access to, we've got folks who have a lot of information.
I'd love it.
This is a perfect time when we're at the very beginning of it to start tracking that data, because you can really inform your engagement strategies based on that data. And so if we can help build what we're measuring, and I'd be very happy to at least get smart people that I know to talk to you guys.
I've been looking for smart people here. I find them downstairs here. But I would love that because I am not a techie. I feel like I've been around a long time and I understand what the message and what I think sportsmen want to hear and others want to hear. But that kind of stuff is brand new to me, and I would really take advantage of that.
I'd be very happy to talk offline about that.
I'm in.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Doug, how many subscribers do we currently have to Internet TV? Do we know?
Internet TV, I'm going to defer that one to Don. Don? Don doing one of his other roles.
Yeah. To answer the question, I don't have a number right off the top of my head, but I can get you that. It's growing. We've done several email blasts to, nearly 300,000 folks, and so we've gotten a lot of good activity. We've tracked a lot of the data from people visiting the site and what they're clicking on, and we're as Commissioner Woodson was just referring to, tracking that and kind of digging deep and figuring out what the interests are. What are the hot topics out there? So we're trying to maximize that right now. But I'll get you that number of subscribers.
Okay. Now, they get a free trial period, is that right? Or
Yes.
we just need to be sure, because I've had some people ask, they obviously got emails, I never got one, but, and they're, why should I pay $20 to watch this? So I think during your trial period, you guys need to make sure that there is a lot of things of interest on there, or they're not gonna pay the money.
Right.
I mean, that is
Exactly.
huge.
And one of the big incentives to me, to my way of thinking, is that we're allowing subscribers to upload some of their content. So that way it becomes a little bit more like a YouTube, sort of a cross between a Netflix and a YouTube, and allows them to participate as well and to put some of their stuff in front of, like-minded folks that are viewing the channel. So, but while I am here, I just want to say I am so excited to have Doug Markham doing what he's doing, and it's really helped our effort, and I can't tell you how happy I am to have Doug working right there with us. So
Thank you, Don.
thank you.
Done. Finished.
I want more.
Kurt, I just looked on the Facebook page, 59,022 followers on
That's-
Facebook.
That's not what I'm talking, I'm talking about actually the TV
Okay.
channel.
Doug, my question is, I noticed on the website you had a section for social media, and you had the different regions. Will you have anything on there that will have trending topics that people can click on?
The closest thing we have to that, and if I'm understanding you right, is our hot outdoor topics. I'm not sure if that's what you mean by trending topics. These are things that are coming up immediately that
Well,
there are public
trending
involvement.
topics within social media.
I haven't thought about that. So trending topics within social media?
Yes.
Example would be,
Well, for instance, one hot button I can think of is when Cecil the Lion thing came up.
right,
Different topics that affect wildlife and how we operate and so forth. I mean,
as it pertains,
people in social media will pick up a grain of something and make a mountain out of
They
it
do.
within moments.
I think we do some of that, Commissioner. I don't know if we're doing it to the degree that you're talking about, but we've put stuff out there that have gone, I guess, we've had some go to 200,000 or 300,000 folks that were in that trending topics area. I think my idea with Facebook is keeping those trending topics with the agency more than getting away from the agency. But if a trending topic, if you're talking about somebody winning the Bassmasters Classic with 40 pounds of, I don't know if that's what you mean. I'm not sure that we would do that. But, no, I mean, we're learning, so we're new. We're open to a lot of ideas.
Mr. Holt.
Have you checked with, just like on the audio cast with people talking, have you checked about radio stations? I know in our area, I think they would eat that up. To be able
with-
to get that and carry that, have that hour-long broadcast
Don-
every Monday at 5 PM or whatever. I think you guys need to look into that if you're not already.
That's a great idea, and Don brought that up, I guess, probably the first week we did one. We're going to do that. We're going to contact them and see who else will play it. We'd love for them to do it.
Doug, I think it's obviously really impressive and exciting what you and Lee and Don are doing, the agency's doing, and obviously this is the way the world communicates. The website is great. It's real intuitive and informative. I feel like the app, though, could be improved. Like, for example, if you look at it looks like it's just scanned like the fishing guide, for example. And if you wanted to look at, okay, what's the regulation on this fish? You just have to go through the whole, the ads and everything to get there. Is there a way to index that?
This was a discussion yesterday. I learned a lot about best practices yesterday, and anyway, it's a word. I'm gonna let Michael talk to you. Michael May, this is going to happen, Commissioner. It's, we're fixing, if I understand Michael, it's going into phase 2 and 3 pretty soon, and we're gonna make it better also.
Thank you for the question. So what we're doing right now is we've been looking in, working with a mobile app vendor, and we've been trying to figure out different things that we can do. We've taken a lot of information from input from the commission and from employees and customers of what we can do to improve that, and taking a look out in the world and taking a look at other different types of apps, like-minded apps, even other apps that aren't like ours, but what's best practice out in the world. Try to take all that information and figure out what we can do to upgrade this moving forward in a phase 2 and a phase 3 option. So ironically enough, we just had a meeting yesterday with the stakeholders inside the agency to figure out what we can do moving forward. Those are items that we're looking at. Upgrading the fish ID, basically looking at the whole format of it and the flow to redesign it so it flows differently and better in those regards. I don't think we're going to do anything about changing the background look. I think that it seems like everybody, all the customers really like that look, the plank boards and all that kind of thing. But the flow, we're going to change that. We're going to update that, and we're going to put a lot more options on there that they don't have right now. Moon phases is one of the ones that I know a lot of people wanted, and those type of things. So we're currently working on that, and hopefully within the next few months we might have a phase 2 upgrade in being downloaded. Hopefully it takes that, we can get it that quickly.
So it sounds like you're adding some things like moon phases and, helpful things, but what about like the fishing guide? If you're just looking for a specific regulation, will you still have to flip through the entire guide, or will you be able to, say, index the guide and say, okay, rules and regulations, and go straight to it?
We're taking a look at, instead of, the way that it is now, it's downloaded into the app. When you click on regulation, it's going to download via a PDF, right? And that was the type of technology we had at the time when we designed it. What we're trying to do now, instead of hitting that and it downloads, is actually going to go back and hit our website and be into a flip book. And hopefully, we talked about yesterday, we can do a type of indexing or do a search inside that. The only thing is we just want to make sure that we don't get it too complicated so that you can't function that way on a mobile device. So we do want to hit that, but we want to make sure that it's still usable.
I would, that's all I've got something for Doug.
Thank you.
I think quite possibly this is the best thing that's happened in a good while, to have an information position like you've got. Historically, it's always been discussed about how we tell the story about TWRA. How do you get the information out there? It's been talked about, and I think we may be hitting on something, especially with the social media. I've been knowing Barry for years, and I think that's great. I would ask that you come up with, and I call it an elevator speech. If you got 30 seconds to talk to somebody, convince them, Jamie probably knows what that is, of a subject, you might come up with a paragraph that you use throughout the agency, that when you have an opportunity to communicate with the public, that you promote them buying a license, not just hunting and fishing license, but talking about conservation and environment and other things that people that don't hunt and fish that would like to know how they can donate to enhance habitat, or what some of the programs CWRA does that you show, here's how you can help. And not only are you educating the public and you're outreaching, but you're also selling, which to me is kind of the whole point about retention and recruitment, and I think you're on to something.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Director Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to add just a couple of things. First, I'm really excited about what all is going on that you heard a part of, and we've been brainstorming for a while, and I appreciate where we're headed with all this, and I think it will make a difference. And as Doug said, there's so much to do, and with the outreach programs and with the information side, that's why we eventually split those so that we could utilize our people as best we could. We didn't have to create a new position. We had a position that was vacant, and so we're able to keep the same staffing numbers, and Doug has moved into that. He was actually talking about retiring, but I've known him so long, I had enough dirt on him, but I made him stay. But anyway, I do appreciate the fact that he was willing to do that. I also wanted to just mention to you, and I think you already know this, that over a year we've been working for to renew our contract with our reel system. we're going to a different vendor in that process. The new vendor scored out the best, and after that years-long process, and it's the same people who utilize that Georgia and Florida utilize in their program. That will be the third state that they have. But I talked to both directors there, and they're very excited about what they've been able to do working with them. Gives them opportunities that they didn't have with their other vendors. So we will start that in October when they come in. Michael and his staff have met with them numerous times already, but they offer some things in the way of surveying and multimedia stuff through their licensing system that we haven't been able to do, and so that'll be another thing that we can add. And Commissioner Cox had indicated to me that at some time in the near future, he'd like to get this committee together, and I'm assuming you probably still want to do that. He'd like to get his committee together and talk about other things we might be able to do. And in that regard, last week I talked to some folks, Mark Duda, that has been here before, and Rob Southwick, who has a similar business, but they have different surveys that they key in on. And both of those, I think, have indicated they're more than willing to come. And then there's a thing that's funded through some federal money that comes out of the fisheries side and the boating side. It's called the Recreational Boating Fishing Foundation. Frank Peterson is the person that heads that up, and he indicated that they don't normally go out to a state. I told him what we were trying to do, and he said that if they could get schedules together, that he was more than willing to come and try to explain to you what they're doing on a national basis that our agency is already working with. But they want to do some unique things, and they've only done them with Florida and Georgia because of this other vendor, and he wants to do something similar with us. So he wants to come and be a part of that whenever we get there. So I'll just put all that together to say I think we're on the edge of really going and doing some new things that we haven't done before, and enhancing some of those we've done for a long time. Just as one parting shot, and I didn't know that we had the opportunity to go to different languages, and Doug was showing me that. I had no idea. So not knowing any other language except I barely can handle Tennessee, I'm not sure what they say. I kind of wonder. A friend of mine from Iceland who was giving a presentation, and I don't speak Icelandic either, but he was saying, I did the international translation, and you got to be careful because I hit the button. And he said, in my presentation, I put out of sight, out of mind, and it came back invisible lunatic. So, so I just mentioned to you that I don't know what that says, but I'm excited that we have that opportunity. So, and I'm really glad for what Doug's doing. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. The Retention and Recruitment Committee does not sound very glamorous, but I can tell you that from my experience, I think it's possibly the most important committee it could be that the commission sponsors, and there's a lot of potential to participate in the things and help brainstorm and how the agency manages itself and how we recruit and then retain participants and sell licenses and fund this agency. So we are going to be meeting, and if you're uncomfortable with having a couple of meetings, maybe some long ones, sorry about that. There's a vacant position if somebody would like to participate. Raise your hand, but we're going to talk about, we're going to have some meetings and collect information and try to make some good, hard decisions in the next couple of months. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Doug, thank you. Chairman Cox, thank you. I should have been tracking throughout this. I don't know how many times the word excited came up, whether it was staff, whether it was the commission, but just it was all the way through it. And I will take issue with Commissioner Cox's comment, and that is on the glamour side, I think this has got the most opportunities of just about any committee, and I really appreciate you and Commissioner Cook taking this on. I didn't realize we were doing all this, and I'm excited, and this is good stuff. So to the staff, to this committee, thank you. It will be a lot of fun to watch what comes out of this. We'll turn it over to Chairman David Watson of the Budget Committee. It's all yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call Bill Reeves, Chief of Biodiversity Division.
Good morning, Commissioners. The agency is requesting a budget expansion in the amount of $150,614 for a contract with the Nature Conservancy, the Tennessee chapter of the Nature Conservancy. And in the commission packet, I gave you a little bit of information about what that entailed, but I'd like to give you a little more detail now so that you have a better idea of what you're voting on. This is a 3-year contract, so it's 50, in round numbers, $50,000 a year. That amount is split in half. Half of that goes to basically hire the Nature Conservancy cave and karst person who is as good a bat person as we have in Tennessee, to assist our people we're really understaffed in this wintertime survey of caves for white nose syndrome. And so he will be another finger in the hand of winter surveys of bat caves. The other part of this goes to a research project that involves a cure for white nose syndrome, if I can call it a cure. But in the last couple years, there's been a kind of a bacteria out there has been discovered that's a common bacteria on bananas, of all things. And if that gives you some idea of how extensive the research has been on looking for something that will knock white nose out. This bacteria on bananas emits a vapor, a chemical, that actually kills white nose syndrome. And they've produced this in the lab by exposing bats with white nose syndrome to a bowl with this bacteria in it, and they're hanging upside down underneath the bowl, and it wipes the white nose syndrome off the bats. They're cured from it. The problem is, how do you implement this in a cave situation, in a natural situation out there where there are drafts going through the cave, there's all kinds of other organisms in the cave. So that's what this research goes for. What we're contributing, the Nature Conservancy, is matching. So it'll be a total of $50,000 going to this research, half from us, half from them. And so that's the details of the contract. And the agency's recommending that this be, that the budget be expanded to accommodate this contract.
This is a committee. We're still in committee, so it's a committee vote. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Who made the
Second.
motion?
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion from the public? Any discussion from the commission?
One quick question. Is it a fungus or what is?
Yeah, white nose syndrome is a fungus that gets on bats, and it looks like a lot of other fungi that are white and fluffy kind of thing, and it gets on their wings, but it tends to center around their muzzle. So it makes them look like they've got fuzzy stuff growing around their mouth. Well, the complexity of their death is still probably being debated, but it centers around the amount of energy reserve they have in fat in their body going into hibernation, how much they use up during hibernation, scratching and itching themselves from the white nose. They also wake up in the middle of the winter and fly outside the cave. In our climate, that's not such a bad deal, but if you do it in Pennsylvania or New York, where they first found this organism, the bats die from exposure to cold. So, but it's a long, involved process. That it doesn't actually kill them directly, but the effect of it kills them.
Any other questions? Okay, this will be a committee vote. All for it, say aye. Aye. Anybody against it? Okay. Mr. Chairman, the Budget Committee voted, and I recommend passage of proposed budget expansion winter bat surveys in the amount of $150,614.
Thank you, Chairman Watson. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion from the commission or from the public? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The budget expansion of $150,614 for the winter bat surveys is approved.
Mr. Chairman, we'd like to call Darren Ryder, Chief of Boating and Law Enforcement Division,